and listen.
Okay. Looks like we're just settling down. They're just settling down to the press conference. As soon as they begin, possibly even before the official takeoff, we'll most certainly let you know and probably switch over. While at it, of course, this is where the media that we're talking about picks its news. Okay, so it's one thing to push this out, another thing to report it, and all of that. So looks like, okay, they're about to start, but once we have information about the official takeoff of that meeting, we'll definitely let you know. Just go ahead and conclude your thoughts.
Yeah, I was saying that whether we have a purge period of media houses governed by their various ideologies, what is critical is that people must report professionally. The media is governed by ethics and laws. So why flout the ethics of the profession that you belong? Just because of your belly or whatever reason that governs your thinking? I think at the end of the day, professionalism must be key, whether it's in the judiciary or in the media or any profession.
Sometimes, Sir Ken, they need help, assistance. They have a story, they're chasing it. They meet the authorities. There's no reply. Do they have to wait for a press conference before, and they're supposed to reply on time in this era of the internet, social media?
You see, that is one thing that some media sources or the people we report tend to think they will hold us to ransom. If you have your facts, go ahead and report your story. If they have a counter story, let them tell their counter story. It's only when I don't have the facts that I want somebody to confirm. If I give you an opportunity to respond to an inquisition or inquiry I sent to you, and you are stalling on it, I will only state there that I've sent you inquiry, you did not respond. That's also fairness. So if the media has the facts, report the facts that you have. So media should not, we don't have any reason not to be fair. And not being fair is not also being fair to the readers, the electorate, the listeners, the viewers. And we must be fair to all in our reportage. Twist the fact.
Not being displayed, but they cannot deny that they know the results. They can collate. They know where they have won, where they have lost. So shouting, saying that the process has been compromised is like shouting woof when there is none. Yeah. They know what happened.
Well, Paul James, I understand we still have, thank you, Mr. Shibuwale, yes, by the way. Paul James from Yaga, I understand you're still with us, and I was asking you earlier, because when we spoke with you during the mock accreditation, we looked at your recommendations and your observations. And I was asking that when you observed what played out on February 25th and afterwards, do you get a sense that any of those recommendations were implemented? Because from an observer's point of view, it looks as though history simply repeated itself.
So I don't think it was fully implemented. Some of the concerns we have raised from the mock accreditation was the fact that we thought it was happening, or it happened close to the election. It happened 20 days to the election, and that the people or the personnel that were supposed to apply the beavers or use the beavers for the process did not get the chance to get the hands-on experience of how to use the beavers. I would not be surprised that some of these INEC officials were seeing the beavers for the first time on election day. Reason being, for instance, in states like Kano, we got a report or an observer called our data center on the morning of the election to say an INEC official had asked them to come and help them operate the beavers. And we had provided clear communication to the observers to not interfere in the process, because for us, For observation is 3 points. You observe, you document, you report. Report to us as the leaders here in Abuja, and then we can engage with the appropriate authorities. So that, for me, brings to fore the concerns that could training have been effective in the application or management of the beavers. But let us also go back even before the mock accreditation to when INEC deployed these devices to the state offices. The last consignment was dispatched on the 3rd of January. Between January 4th and January 11th, INEC claimed to have tested these devices in the state offices. This was not a public activity. INEC claimed also that it was their routine internal process and did not open it to the public, did not also allow observers the opportunity to observe the process of testing these devices. About 181,000 devices were deployed to the state. We had the opportunity in about 14 states to have a sense of how INEC was testing the devices. They were supposed to connect these devices to the internet. They were supposed to update the part of the upload, that is the IRF part, the part of the also application for checking voter biometrics. They were also supposed to upload a Chrome application on the devices. The reports we got over a 4-day period that we deployed to observe were the concerns, the consistent complaints about the devices not connecting to network. In Edo State, for instance, there was a report that the devices that were supplied to the state were short by 40. Kwara State complained also that there were no backup devices. We approached INEC with this report. INEC was even surprised how we were able to get some of this report, what they thought were for their internal use. But again, this is something that I thought at that point, if INEC had been open and honest with Nigerians, wherever there are challenges, Nigerians will know. Especially for me, it is best that we had managed expectations before we get into this exercise. If you recall also for the mock accreditation, to a large extent, based on what we saw, the devices worked. For instance, in 74% of locations that we deployed observers, it took an average of 2 minutes to process a voter using the device. There were attempts from 16 states to upload like a bogus election results to the online server, which also worked. But how many devices were used if you think also that this was also conducted in 436 locations? Now, beyond that is the call on INEC at that point to provide report or update of how it has been able to ensure that all of these devices were connected to the internet, which we didn't get. In December, we had some meetings with some high-ranking officials in INEC, and we asked the questions especially around whether they had increased the bandwidth for the online application that will collate the results and all of that. And we were assured that everything is okay, everything is sorted. Every time what we keep getting from INEC is, it is okay, we are ready, we are ready, we are ready. We are all humans, and we understand the human elements of this sort of heavy deployments. And like I will keep saying, it is better that we have this prior communication from INEC so that we'll know how to manage this crisis when they happen. INEC is always reactive and not proactive. And for me, that is the biggest concern when it comes to engagement with the Commission.
Thank you for those insights, Paul James. I'd like to bring the conversation back into studio with Mr. Shobowale. It seems that the majority are speaking with one voice, which is that there is a lack of several things, a lack of a seamless, fair, smooth, credible process. Now, I know your stance at the moment is that we should see it through. Here's my question to you. If it was not a level playing field, why should we allow Nigerians to drink from a poisoned well?
Well, I don't see it as a poisoned well. Or even if it is poison, we poison it anyway. Maybe we deserve what... See, you can't get...
Stick to the issues,
there's an expression. You can't get water from an empty well. You can't get water from an empty well. This is the nature of our politics. We do things in fits and starts. It's only in a country like Nigeria that we have a huge fiscal policy on the eve of an election. I starve people of their funds, do not care about their mood or whether they're in penury or not, and you force an election on them. Look at the voter turnout. Look at, okay, see Lagos. Registered voter.
1 second, sir. Actually, so this is on what you're talking about. The Labour Party and PDP, I believe, have a joint press conference. And by the way, Labour won Delta State, just to clear that up for our viewers. Let's take a listen.
All right.
Then we have former governor of Cross River, Governor Leo Imoke. We have the BOT chairman of ADC, Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad. We have the former governor of Edu State, Okosileze Modu. We have Miss Dolly Kola Balogun. We have the National Organizing Secretary of the Labour Party, Comrade Ojukwu Clement. We have my big brother here, High Chief Raymond Dobesi. We have the campaign manager of Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council, Oseloka Obaze. We have Chief Dele Mamadou, the Director of Strategic Communication for PDP. We have the former Deputy Speaker and former Governor of Imo State, my dear brother, I salute you. Emeka Ihedioha. Then we have Ambassador Nkoyo. My name is Valentine Ozibo. I'm Special Advisor to His Excellency Peter Obi. I now hand over to the distinguished Senator Dino Melani.
And gentlemen, and highly respected members of the Fourth Estate of the Record. We are here this very historic day for the World Press Conference. We are going to start by inviting the man I call the irremovable national chairman of PDP, former president of the Nigerian Senate, founding member of the PDP, former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator gentlemen of the press, other distinguished personalities here. This press conference is not a very pleasant or happy one for our country. We should be celebrating democracy and not lamenting the difficulties that are presented to Nigerians and the world today. And therefore, welcome you to listen to the position of the main political parties that feel all is not right. And without wasting too much time, I'll be calling a colleague of the Labour Party to please bring the position of the three political parties. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. held his general election on Saturday, February 28, 2023. And this press is to address the urgent and important issues arising from that exercise, which was President, Vice President, and National Assembly members. The exercise carried out by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is still underway as we hold this conference. Collation is still ongoing. We surpass of the country. We monitored with dismay the travel
Well, that's a press conference, the joint press conference of the PDP and the LP holding right there. Unfortunately, as you could see, the details aren't coming to you the way we want it to come. But as soon as we sort that out, we definitely will come back to you. Meanwhile, we're counting down 1 hour, 3 minutes from 2 o'clock when the INEC chairman should open the National Collation Center at the ICC in Abuja, so we can take more reports from all over the place. We're having this conversation with Mr. Ken Ubeche, who is the editor of The Political Economist. So you were talking about the political parties and where they may have, loosely speaking, compromised their role in the process.
Yeah, shooting themselves in the foot. And like I said, if you don't have enough agents, if you don't have agents in all the polling units, you have only shortchanged yourself because you are banking on the integrity of another person. Which shouldn't be, because politics is about interest. Everybody is there to protect his or her interest. So an agent for party A will protect the interest of party A only. Even when you see something going wrong against party C, it's not morally binding on the person to begin to say, no, why are you doing that to that party? Is it because they don't have an agent? So if any political party that doesn't have agents in all the polling units, whatever happens there, you can't actually, you don't have well, I won't say locus, but you may not have the arsenal, something in your arsenal to argue your case.
But doesn't that now speak to funding? You know, why should the elections be very expensive?
Well, sometimes, you know, but in the case of democracy and presidential system of democracy, it's usually more expensive than parliamentary system. And the elections is where political parties spend a lot of money. And that's why even the Electoral Act and the Constitution recognize that there must be expenditure during electioneering period. And that those things count. And that's why you hear people say that politics is not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, it's for not for the faint-hearted, it's for the deep pockets. And that's also why they raise fundraiser. Political parties raise funds through fundraisers, through donations from people. Although there's a cap to how much you can spend, But you and I know that
who is monitoring that cap?
Yeah, no, you and I know that's not respected in Nigeria. So people spend as they have it, and people even spend foreign exchange in the local politics.
I remember one of the presidential candidates saying to me that if they wanted to curtail vote buying and selling, is the redesign should be of the dollar, not of the naira. That there's no point to redesigning the naira. That it should have been the dollar that should be redesigned.
But you see the justification in that in the man caught in Rivers State.
Yes, with more than $500,000.
People are being caught with the same dollar. So it is actually the currency of the politician. It's not the naira. So all that agitation.
Now, to speak to the implications of the political parties that do not have. I'm glad that you're speaking to these subheads in further detail, so that the voter, the Nigerian, can understand that, look, whatever perception or realities they're experiencing now, it didn't just come from one source. It came from all of us.
Yes.
It came from the electorate, it came from the political parties, it came from INEC as well. So what should we now be saying to who in order to calm nerves? Because as we speak, we both know tempers are very high. I mean, one of it is what we are seeing in Abuja, where the political parties, some political parties are getting together to collaborate, if I can use the term.
Yeah, my take actually, from if you listen to the very person that has spoken, people are talking about cancellation and the rest of them. Allow this process to terminate, to get to a terminus. That terminus is allowing INEC to announce the final results. Now, if you have a contention, why I'm saying is that because I don't want people to bear arms and march into the streets in the name of defending their votes or protesting the outcome or perceived outcome, because you never can tell if the result is delayed, if it's not coming today or tomorrow or the day after. The protest might even start before the final result comes out. From what you can see from the politicians, they're already agitated, and what this means that they are sending stimulus to their followers, to their supporters. If our boss can be this angry, we have a justification to bear arms, to go into the street. And I don't want us to get to that level. We can protest, but protest with civility. Protest using the rule of law. We have seen in other democracies, when people go, we have seen governors in this country installed by the judiciary, senators installed by the judiciary, presidents that their position was shaky, firmed up by the same judiciary. So, and the judiciary has become part of the electoral process in Nigeria. In fact, the Constitution recognizes that. That's why you have tribunal, appeal court, then Supreme Court, the terminus. So allow this process, INEC process, to get to its own terminus. You cannot take it off from there. By that time, you will also have gathered your own facts. Because the law is not moral. Law is not moralistic. It's based on evidence. As they call it, law of thought. I'm sure a lawyer. It's evidence-based. So if you don't have evidence and you are raging and raving and then making all the noise, once you don't have the evidence to prove what you have alleged,
it's going to be quite difficult.
It's a no case for you.
Sometimes there's also public policy which the court looks at in making a decision. But then, yes, largely evidence-based.
The other thing, of course, in all of this is that, I think some of our guests in the morning segment alluded to this when we were talking about the process. In the process, there are multiple points, that you go through in the process. Yep. But there are also, in that process, safeguards for breaches of the same process. We've been quoting sections of the Electoral Act and so on.
And even the penalties.
And the penalties are also there.
Yes.
So, but then all those will happen only if the process is followed.
Yeah.
Because if you find me doing something that is an obvious breach, but you don't have any, as just been said, any evidence of that breach beyond you screaming and shouting that I breached it.
Yes.
You don't go further to process that my breach, which is by gathering the evidence and all of that, and then presenting it to the authority which is supposed to provide the check and the balance within the process. then, you know, you yourself, you are breaching the process. You know, I mean, again, I don't know how...
I was going to say, the fact that I saw it or heard it, you know, makes me a witness. So that's one
Yeah, makes you a witness, but if you are the only one who saw it...
How do I prove that?
How do you prove it? I mean, if there's nobody else...
You can deny
that you can witness an event and you don't have evidence to document that. It's not documented, you only witnessed it. And I usually give an example. As a journalist, and I tell my reporters this, you see, it's always good to document things. Go with a recorder, whatever. These days, you can use your phone to record video-wise or audio. If you don't have that evidence, you can see somebody giving another person bribe. You saw it. They even he thanked you for the bribe. Say, man, I didn't even expect this much. Oh. Thank you very much. It's bribe. You didn't record it. If you go to report it, both of them will agree that they never met.
Yes.
Oh, I never gave and I never received. You are in the lodge. You that reported it, even though you witnessed it, even though it happened. But because you don't have evidence. Law is evidence-based, largely.
They say I'm not a lawyer, Millicent, you are the lawyer. But, he who alleges
must prove.
Must be the one who proves. So if you claim that something has happened, then, you know, the arbitration authority or the adjudication authority will need to be presented with the evidence of the breach to be able to say, yes, this man is correct, you breached, you know, and these are the penalties as stipulated again by the same process for you. Because there seem to be gaps here. There seem to be quite a number of gaps. While we have been speaking from Saturday night, I know that earlier on Saturday when the election in some of the polling units ended, and people talked about real-time uploading of the results. They expected that, you know, the election finished at 5, by 10 after 5, we should be able to check on IREV, and, you know, the photo of the result sheet should have been there, which was where this crisis, if you want to call it that, began. Because they went there, having returned from the polling booth home, they went to check and it wasn't there, and then people started raising alarm. But slowly, I think from about 10 p.m., 1, 2, 3, and so on. And I think the last time I checked, we were
just now we're about 83,600.
83,600.
So INEC results, INEC election results.ng website, but on the cvr.inecnigeria.org page, it says 99,541.
Well, I mean, the one that is in the guidelines and so on is IREV. So, I mean, if we say 83,835.
So
that means now we have, you know, officially crossed the 50% mark. I mean, of what is being, of the total that is being expected. Because total being expected is 176,606. Okay? So, again, that's gone on. Now, sometimes when people talk about allowing the process to go on, possibly by the time all these results are finally in today, tomorrow, and so on, even if it takes all the way up until Friday, at some point, that IREV will be completely populated.
Definitely.
And the role it was supposed to play,
it will still be played
from day one.
From day one, it will still be expected to play. But if nobody goes there to check because it was not there 10, 15 minutes, maybe even a day or 2 or 3 after the process started, you will again be referred back to that process to say, this contention you are having, is it based on the IREV? You know, is there a discrepancy between what was presented at the National Collation Center and what is on IREV? Which is a question even some of the lawyers on some of the panels we've had have said that, look, you need to establish that, oh, okay, yes, Party A won 5 votes on IREV, but at the announcement point, you know, it won 8 votes. So where did the discrepancy come from?
Which speaks to the question that we asked Mr. Ubeche earlier about what role the political parties themselves were supposed to play in all this. Because as you said, the electoral umpire is playing its own role. But the political parties are supposed to play their own role.
Definitely.
So in that light, speak to what Ladi raised.
Yes, that brings us to the issue of who should change who. If you're a political party and you don't have enough agents in all the polling units, you have to change yourself. Because it is your agent that should ensure that the INEC man, presiding officer, uploads that result. And that result that you're uploading must have your own signature, must have your own buy-in.
Let me just put you on pause there. We are hearing from the Senate, which is Nigeria's upper legislative chamber, which has resumed proceedings, same with the House of Representatives. But the Senate is urging all political actors, leaders, and all Nigerians to remain calm, law-abiding, and allow the process of collation and announcement of the results of the presidential and National Assembly elections. The upper chamber is making this call following a point of order by a federal lawmaker, Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe, on the need for calm and abiding with the rule of law on the election process in the just concluded election. Incidentally, I think Senator Oloriegbe is one of those who was a casualty of this. So, I mean, it speaks to back to the issue of the process that you mentioned. There has been a similar statement from the House of Representatives. So, I mean, we're talking more or less about the same thing from the National Assembly. And some of those people were prominent casualties. They lost in this electoral process. Quite a number of prominent people, both in the Senate and in the House, in the House, lost. So again, it goes back to, sorry I caught you short in order to say that, but it goes back to the issue of the process that you were mentioning.
Yes, I was saying that if you don't have your agents there, you have to change yourself already, because your agent ought to be the one supervising whether that document that bears the result of all the parties was uploaded, and whether it is actually reflects the voting pattern in that polling unit. It is not just about uploading. What was uploaded? Is it a mutilated one? Is it a doctored?
Is it legible?
Is it legible? Is it something I can read and I can access and read it? The legibility is also critical, because at the end of the day, I said that this is not the end of this whole show. But I'm appealing, like the Senate said, appealing to Nigerians, be calming down. Let us allow INEC to finish its job. Then the aggrieved, agitated parties cannot take it up from there. And the law has made provision for you. You have to go to the tribunal. You have to go to Court of Appeal. You have to go to the Supreme Court. So there are options for you for remediation, assuming that is what you want. Or rectification, like let me use the words of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo that you used yesterday. There are options for you to rectify what you consider a faulty process. So, but bearing arms and instigating violence is what I preach against, and I'm thoroughly against that.
Well, just to quickly remind you that we announced earlier, and you saw some pictures of that joint press conference by the PDP and the Labour Party. It's still ongoing from what we know. As soon as we have more pictures, we will definitely, better pictures and better audio, we'll definitely come back to you.
Indeed. And we've since been joined by Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, Joshua Adlobo from Abuja studios. Prof, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
Well, what we have been discussing for much of the day, much of yesterday, is that most of those who participated in the process, who are voters and so on, have become sort of like emergency lawyers, because they've had to go back to the Electoral Act 2022, the Nigerian Constitution, the manual for the 2023 elections, the electoral guidelines, and so on, to see exactly who erred and where. But before we get into that and tap into your knowledge and expertise of this, perhaps I should begin by asking you what you make of what has happened thus far.
First and foremost, I need to commend Nigeria for believing in the system. What is the system? In the midst of the crush, or in the midst of uncertainty, a lot of people felt that that election may not hold. Even me as a lawyer and a professor, and also a consultant to INEC, I was still making sure I asked questions to guide against what happened in 2019. When on the day of the election, it was postponed because of logistics. But with all the enormous logistic challenge for INEC to conduct this election in a peaceful manner should be commended. When I say in a peaceful manner, I'm speaking based on my empirical observation from my jurisdiction, that is Benue State, where I participated in the election. And also, for the first time, for people to even exercise their franchise without anybody saying, I'm giving you 10,000, I'm giving you XYZ amount of money. No. It was a miracle beyond description. As a person that have done much research in electoral jurisprudence in Nigeria, the bane of our polity have been money polity all this while. But it got to a point that money has failed in 2023 general election. Though I'm aware, because I'm involved in both PDP and APC, even I'm APC chieftain, but as an insider, you need to know what is happening in all the party. And that was even when led to the collapse of PDP in Benue State. Because it was only the other party that makes some logistics available in dollar. Why, as I speak up till now, because election require logistics. I was even in Benue till 6 o'clock when I got the invitation to come for this interview. For me to come down, even though I don't have private jet, you have to make, it's also part of logistics. So logistics is part of election. But now, beyond logistics, the fact that you cannot induce that most electorate in Benue, especially or the local government where I monitored the election, people were receiving less than 100 naira. Even though the main political party or stakeholder have XYZ of dollar. But those dollars were not translated to the electorate. But they still believe in change. Now, PDP was working against PDP, and that was one leg to the alienation of PDP at the governor, at the senatorial level of incumbent governor. And also incumbent senator that was former governor, His Excellency Gabriel Susan. It was unprecedented, especially Autumn, that was defeated by his SA on local government and chieftaincy affair. It showed that Nigeria have risen beyond primordial sentiment. So we should applaud what we have achieved so far in this election. If we should look at what has happened in this other state, it goes beyond any shortcoming that may be discussed later.
That is my question, the first one. The second question, you're calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to save Nigerians using your words. So I ask you directly now, within the ambits of the law, what are your expectations from the president right now that you think the action that he can take that can help save Nigerians, as you put it? Thank you.
So I will give the microphone to the national chairman of PDP. He will respond. The chairman of Labour will respond. The chairman of ADC will respond, and that will be a response from the three political parties here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me take the question from Peter Okocha of the BBC, whom I think I knew from his student days. Why not wait for the courts after the process is completed? We are challenging the very process because it fundamentally violates not just the law, but the electoral procedures which are derived from the Electoral Act, which INEC presented to all of Nigeria, and by the Electoral Act is compulsory that these results have to be uploaded from the polling units. INEC has largely violated these things, and it is not a question of waiting until we challenge it in court, because the same Electoral Act provides for us to challenge these results right from the time they are being presented to the public. And INEC has the responsibility of reviewing them and therefore correcting the things we are challenging. And secondly, it is such a wide-scale violation. The malpractices are on a very, very grand scale. And it is important that we bring the attention of not just the Nigerian community, but also of the international community to these gross violations. And that is why we are doing this at this very time. That in no way stops us from going further to challenge them in the court if they decide not to heed to our call for a comprehensive review. We still have a window ultimately to challenge it in court, because definitely this is not a credible election, and it's not acceptable after 20-something years of our democracy to have this type of retrogressive step which Professor Yakubu has taken Nigeria. It is dangerous, and we have to take necessary steps, because we don't also want Nigerians to erupt into taking the law in their hands. We, the representatives of the people whom they have voted for our parties, will have a responsibility to do something. Thank you. I will allow the one on the issue of waiting for a review from Dr. Leon of Tribune has been answered by Senator Dino. So I will allow my Labour Party colleague to take that one from Amaka from Arise.
Okay. Well, in addition to what the PDP chairman has said, the damage that has been done to the election conducted on Saturday is not what you can correct. The provisions of the law and the electoral guidelines are clear that you upload results when they are announced at the polling unit. And it is perhaps of importance to take you back to remind you that the numerous challenges we have had so far is because the processes leading to our election and our electoral process has been marred with irregularities and therefore produces very bad leadership. And it is because of this that people decided that to correct this process, it will be of importance to be able to transmit these election results directly from the polling unit, because elections are known to be manipulated after you leave the polling unit. And therefore, the process can no longer be corrected because those elections are already manipulated, wide-scale manipulation. As we speak now, elections are still being manipulated. Today, in Bayelsa, in Rivers, in Imo, name them, in Nasarawa, election results are still being collected and taken to government houses for manipulation. So it's an incurable process that you cannot correct. Where do you start from? Is it the results that have been manipulated that you can correct? So the best thing to be done is for us to repeat the process. After all, if you send your child to school and the child fails, he repeats the class. So INEC should repeat the class since they have failed their exams, because this is a major test from INEC. And we had expected that the process would be done in line with the electoral process. And so since they have failed, it is incorrectable, and therefore the process should be repeated. And this also brings us to answering the second question: why the cancellation of the results, which our friend from Arise asked Kamaka. It's the same response. The process is marred with irregularities, and you can't correct the damage that has been done to that election. The election ordinarily was peaceful, would have been the best of elections, but INEC itself willfully, deliberately decided to destroy that election. And therefore, it is irretrievable, and this should therefore be cancelled, and it will be repeated. Calling on Buhari to save. Buhari is the commander and president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the country. He controls INEC, no doubt. We believe that he has a say in this process, and he can call the INEC chairman to order, because he appoints him, and we believe that if things are not going well by any agency of government, he has the responsibility to intervene and ensure that things are done properly. Thank you.
Okay, I will have said maybe there's virtually nothing to add at this stage, but we all know that if all is well, there will be no need for all of this. We're not doing this because we don't have what to do, or we don't have other things, other expectations per se, differently from this. We're hopeful that at this stage, some of the wrongs can be corrected in the ways that we have suggested, or in some other ways which they feel can bring sanity to the situation as it is. So most importantly here is the fact that the level of rigging that is coming out is widespread. And the process allows that where such happens, results should be cancelled. We're not asking for anything outside the law or anything extraordinary. And where these riggings are such, as the widespread nature of the rigging is enough to affect the outcome of the elections, then the best thing is to follow what we're saying for the country to be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to elucidate in 1 minute, why the three political parties are asking for outright cancellation is because rather than having election collation by the returning officer of the presidential election, who happens to be the INEC chairman, what we have seen so far is vote allocation and not collation. So because it's vote allocation, not collation, reason for outright cancellation.
Let me just draw attention of the press, gentlemen of the press. If you look at the results and Gombe, they are exactly the same results. Bauchi APC has 146,977. Gombe, two different states. APC have also 146,977. PDP in Bauchi has 319,123. PDP in Gombe has 319,123. Labour Party has 26,000 in Bauchi they have 26,160. In Gombe, they also have 26,160. It is very clear that these results were allocated, deliberately allocated, and funny enough, this type of mischief, they didn't do it good enough, and you can see how two separate states far away, the parties scores exactly the same numbers in the elections. Two different states.
Thank you very much. That is just a celestial confirmation that it was vote allocation, period. And you know the truth of the matter is that when you lie, you won't flow. There must be a mistake. Then I also refer the media here to Section 38 of the Electoral Act. Please use that to just oppose what is happening if there's compliance. And yesterday, like Leon said, he asked political parties to come with their results and complain. The honors to publish results is of INEC and not of political parties. That is the law. Our copy of our results we cannot do anything with it in the public. It is only what INEC publishes that is authentic and should be used. So it's just like shifting responsibility when he said that yesterday. Finally, he said yesterday that engineers are working on the server, that by the time they finish, they will start uploading. So since there is no result in the server, since the server is not ready, is it petrol you buy before you buy car, or you buy car before you buy petrol? Because they ought to have corrected the problems with the server before you should start collation. But you are collating, and you are telling us that engineers are working on the server, where the raw material you need, you are supposed to extract from, because the raw material is the result that is supposed to leave from pooling units to the server. It's not there, and you are collating against the provisions of the law. We are going to take 2 more questions, then there will be an intervention by the former governor of Imo.
Sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Akimotu. I'm a journalist for NPR. And my main question is, you've obviously decided to do this now. Like you said, waiting for the votes to be collated, you said would be like treating a dead body. Waiting to treat a dead body. Are you doing this now in part because you have concerns about the independence of the judiciary, of any electoral tribunal, of the courts? Do you have concerns about that? Is that part of why you've decided to make this decision now? Just want to know if that factors into your decision.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, your media firm is not Nigeria, right? Yes. American? Okay, wait till you talk? Okay. Next, please. Sorry, after him you take it.
All right, good afternoon, sirs. My name is Yemi Adebayo from AIT. I just have 2 quick questions for you to respond to. The first one is, considering the tense situation we find ourselves in Nigeria now, I want to know what efforts you're making as the opposition parties to reach out to your supporters. Because we know that the country is currently tense now. What efforts are you making to reach out to your supporters to eschew violence in the country? Then secondly, you're asking for a fresh election. Do you in any way consider what financial implications this will have on the country, considering the fact that we came into this election with a very porous economy? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Babalola. I'm a journalist for People's Gazette. I want to ask, what is the place for due process? Where is the place for due process? You are a coalition of 3 political parties out of 18 that have contested in this election, and you are asking for an outright cancellation of a process that has not been concluded. Does this sound fair to the other political parties, that are patiently waiting for INEC to release its verdict?
Thank you. I will give them the microphone to answer, but I want to tell you that the walkout was done by 9 political parties. But this press conference, we invited 3. That does not mean that other political parties are not in conformity with what we are doing here. Thank you.
I think we start with the Labour this time.
Well, the first question has to do with whether we have no confidence in the judiciary. Well, the issue here is clear. Democracy is about the people. This election is about the people. Even the court itself, we look at the yearning and aspirations of the people. What we can correct right now, I don't think we should delay by waiting for the long processes of the court. It's already very glaring to all Nigerians, except we are making pretenses about it here, that this election is not free, fair, and credible. It's clear to all Nigerians that this election is already compromised, and therefore, if that is the wishes and aspirations of every Nigerian and is the general opinion, the best thing to do is for us to correct it and get it right by jettisoning what has been done and have it done properly. Yes, efforts. Yes, the efforts being made by us to reach out to our members. Yes, our members are in tune with what we are doing. What has been happening since on Saturday, Nigerians are aware of it. Our members are Nigerians, and we have our own machinery of reaching out to our members, and we also have machinery of getting feedbacks. What we are doing now is in line with what our members want and what I think all Nigerians are also desirous of. For those of you in the media, I know you already know. If you look at your social media, since on Saturday, you can deduce and conclude the yearning and aspirations of Nigerians. The costs. There's no doubt that the cost implication will be high. But it's part of the sacrifice as a nation we need to make at this point in time so that we can get it right. Because if we don't get it right by getting credible leaders who will be in the saddle of leadership by popular mandate, the cost will by far be higher when you have wrong persons in government. The cost of misgovernance, the cost of bad governance is far more expensive than the cost of conducting free, fair, and credible election. So whatever may be the cost implication, it is our opinion that it is worth the trouble so that we can get it right and get it correctly. What we are doing is also due process, because somebody talked about due process. Democracy is about molding the opinion of people. It's about public opinion. What we are doing is following due process. So we are following due process, and like Dino said, a lot of political parties are with us in this struggle. By 2 p.m. today, Inter-Party Advisory Council will also be meeting on this subject matter. And I can assure you that there is going to be a unified position on this, and it will not be different from the position we've taken. Because every rational Nigerian, every Nigerian believe in this country will have no option than to follow the position we have taken. Thank you, and God bless you.
I will just comment on what we're doing in terms of reaching out to our members across the country. Of course, we have reached out to them severally, and we're still doing it, on the need for them to remain calm and law-abiding and allow us to pursue this process in the way and manner we're doing now. We know there is tension in the land, of course, but we're not in any way doing anything now to make it more tense than what it is. So the whole idea today is to assure Nigerians that we'll pursue this to a logical conclusion, and there is no need for us to escalate the tension and create situation that will lead to unfortunate endings. And this is why we're doing this, and this is why other efforts will continue in this line. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen of the press. Let me just add that whatever shortfalls of our judiciary, we have the firm belief that at the necessary point, the judiciary will stand up to its own responsibilities to take positions that will advance democracy in our country. It is true we have had lapses in the judiciary here. For example, we have on this high table a governor that was removed by the judiciary from my party, very unjustly. But in spite of that, we accepted. We hope and pray that the judiciary will contribute to the development of democracy in this country. And when the necessary time comes, we definitely approach the courts. Secondly, we are reaching out to our supporters precisely because we don't want them to take any spontaneous reaction and bring a serious challenge of stability in our country. We are doing this precisely because our supporters should know that we are following all due processes to bring justice. But it is also not only our responsibility, it is also the responsibility of the government and of INEC to do that which will keep this country stable, which will make it possible to have a democratic government. And it's largely on that note that we called on the president of the country to do the needful. Because if nothing is done, we may not be able to control our supporters. And it is very important that every agency puts its hands or heads together to make sure that we have a just and fair process, that all those who support us massively across the country will be convinced that justice is being done. On the issue of cost of elections, that has been adequately taken care of by the chairman of the Labour Party. Democracy may sound very expensive, it's certainly not cheap. But if you think it is expensive, try dictatorship, and you will see the cost. We don't want INEC to turn itself into a dictatorship and destroy the very democracy we've suffered our labor to build over the last 20-something years. Thank you very much.
Please, the three chairmen deserve a round of applause. And again, to buttress the fact that what we have in Nigeria today is not election collation, that it is vote allocation. Please check now as you are here, Google, the result of President Muhammadu Buhari's polling units in 2019. APC 523, PDP 3. In 2022, the election that was done on Saturday, the result, 2023, sorry. In 2023, the election that was done on Saturday, the result of President Muhammadu Buhari's polling units, APC 523, PDP 3. Nobody died. Nobody become 18 years. No new registered voters. That is just one out of thousands of vote allocations. Out of vote allocation that was done. 2019, Muhammadu Buhari's polling unit, PDP 523, APC 523, PDP 3. In 2023, the same polling unit, APC 523, PDP 3. That's United Nations permanent seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to bring this to a wrap, but I want to invite the former governor of Imo State and the former deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, Sir Emeka Ihedioha, for a comment.
Thank you very much, chairman of political parties, distinguished leaders, gentlemen of the press. Our chairmen have spoken, and I align myself completely with their position. However, speaking as an agent, someone asked a question there. Our parties nominated us as agents for a purpose. Our responsibilities is interrogation of the process. My duty as an agent, in my understanding, was not to go and copy results. We have agents in 36 states of the Federation and FCT. And we have agents in 774 local government areas across the country. And so our duty is to compare reports from them with what is being collected here. And if you noticed yesterday on live television, we made efforts to engage the chairman of INEC to hear us fairly as responsible Nigerians of high standing in the society. The chairman of INEC was very recalcitrant. He said we have no such responsibility. I mean, he didn't give us any such opportunity, and we frowned at it. Before we left, you would have noticed that agents of 15 political parties spoke one after the other, given our reason, appealing to the chairman of INEC to allow and consider the request we've made for interrogation of the results. And the chairman vehemently said no. And he said, we will not interrogate until they have concluded. And we smelt a rag. At the point of interlude, we walked up to him requesting for an interface. Again, he refused. In fact, when he came back after 3 hours of break, when they came back, the chairman reluctantly, yes, it was a break, and reluctantly allowed us to air our views before he continued collation. So we did everything we could to engage as responsible citizens. I think it's important you made it. Now, our chairman has stated very clearly, in fact, he said what I wanted to mention. Distinguished Nigerians, there is a lot of difference between dictatorship and democracy. And we know the yearnings and expectations of Nigerians. What they want is democracy. What they want is democracy. I'll take Imo State, for instance. Labour Party won in Imo. I wanted PDP to win, but Labour won overwhelmingly. And we were happy, we accepted the result as it was. But they began manipulations. And so those are the issues. The issue is that we want integrity of the process is important. We also believe in the fact that Professor Kubu had told us these are the processes as contained in the guidelines and electoral act. And we felt it's important for us to protect legitimacy of the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the three political parties, we want to appreciate the civil society and the media for this time spent. It is my pleasure to invite Valentine Ozibo to please wrap up.
Your Excellencies, let me once again thank the leadership of the three parties here, the PDP, Labour Party, and the ADC, and to thank all the press, the civil society for your attention. In concluding, before we rise for national anthem, let me just re-echo the last comment of the chairman of PDP, which is an appeal to President Muhammadu Buhari. Please save your legacy. Save your legacy. Do not allow any other person to destroy that legacy you promised Nigerians. Do something. Hearken to the prayers we've made here today. And God will bless you and bless Nigeria. Can we rise for national anthem, please?
All right, we've just been live from Abuja, where we've witnessed a joint press briefing from the Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party, and the Africa Democratic Congress. And the main agenda was to call for fresh elections, a demand for the current election to be cancelled. And they expressed a vote of no confidence on the chairman of INEC and demanded that he step aside. It was noted that the views shared reflect they might only reflect the parties in the room. However, these parties, in their words, reflect the will of the majority of the Nigerian people. They said that they will not be waiting for the courts because this process is already hugely flawed and there's no need to wait. The intervention is required now, and they've also called on President Muhammadu Buhari to please intervene.
Now, you know, so many important points you highlighted there, and so many words were being dished out there saying that, you know, this is a point when we should be celebrating democracy, but now it looks as though lamentations are going on at the moment. You know, representatives of those three parties were saying that what it looks like is as though they're monitoring the dismay and travesty of democracy by INEC, and those were their words.
That's right. So, Mr. Shobowale, we have you in the building. I think there's so many pertinent questions from this particular press briefing, so many things to take away. I think I'll start from the end, where there was another call, another plea for President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene. What are the powers of the president constitutionally to involve in an ongoing election?
The president is a lame dog president. He's not supposed to intervene or interfere with the election. That's why he has set up a transition team to manage his departure and the evolution of a new government. So calling on the president is to ask the president to indulge in an illegality, and they should know better. If the president, even on his own, intervenes, you see these same parties that will come out and criticize him for intervening illegally in the election. So it's an extravagant call that has no meaning and it's not constitutional.
Well, Mr. Shobowale,
yes.
You know, to be honest, if after listening to them and they said they had tried to engage the INEC chairman, you know, on at various times during the interlude, and then he was, you know, more or less being not unresponsive, and now they're seeing the process being, you know, going against the provisions of the Electoral Act according to them. What exactly would if the call being made to the INEC chairman is being relatively ignored according to what they're saying, then isn't this probably an option worth exploring?
They did not go to see the INEC chairman in secret. They spoke to him before our eyes.
No, but he's one of the party representatives.
He responded. The INEC chairman said the power that he has is that the process must be concluded before he can do the review they're asking for. So they are jumping the gun. Why don't they have the patience and generosity of mind to trust the INEC chairman that he will follow through on his saying?
What they cited, Mr. Shobowale,
yes.
So what they cited was they were going by the provisions of the Act. Yes. And that as agents, they are supposed to be able to, you know, challenge what they see, as opposed to just, you know, sitting back and letting what they perceive as, you know, not transparent play out.
But you see, the INEC chairman was very, very polite the way he handled the observations. In fact, with Dino Melano, if you were there, he was shouting at the top of his voice, and at the stage, the INEC chairman said, "You are getting disruptive. You are getting." Did he just dismiss them? He never knew. They didn't do as if they would call for a dissolution of, or a dismissal of the entire electoral process. They didn't have that frame of mind. They didn't show as if they have that frame of mind. So they are the one who are, you know, trying to create a surprise.
But Mr. Shobowale, I have to point out,
yes.
What was said during the press conference was that yes. they engaged the INEC chairman during the interlude, and that he was not responsive. Hence, he reluctantly allowed them to say what they had to say, what we watched yesterday. So we might have, it looks like a lot has played out in the background. And let's not forget that one of the things that you mentioned during your analysis earlier on was that he seemed a bit complacent. So it doesn't really sound surprising based on the fact that we haven't seen the INEC chairman address Nigerians since the launch of the Collation Center, based on all the issues that have been outlined.
But he's seeing a process through. Put yourself in this position. He's seeing a process through. What they are complaining about is that that process should not even have happened if the technology had worked well. And by now, the result would have been floating in the air and everybody will know what is happening. But they participated in the process. This is not the first.
That will be cut across all the 36 states of Nigeria. I don't see Aisha Yesufu. She's coming. Labour Party, my brother from the north, who understands Yoruba more than I do. Tanko is here. Tanko is here. Tanko is here. Labour Party. So may nobody come tell on us say now only South Peter Day. Tanko. Speak Yoruba, speak Hausa, speak Igbo. Tell them that Peter Obi is Wazobia. Hey, you see this man? You see this man? Now Dr. Tanko, now our spokesman. Ṣùgbọ́n bó ṣe jẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá ló ṣe jẹ́ ọmọ Hausa ló ṣe jẹ́ ọmọ Igbo. Bó ṣe wà nìyẹn. Ẹjọ́ ẹ bá mi fún látẹ̀wọ́ ẹjọ́ tó lọ. Give me a round of applause. Lagos! Are you ready? Lagos! Are you ready? No amount of intimidation, no amount of stoppage, no amount of stopping, no amount of manipulation, no amount of prank and stealing that they are doing. We will stop Nigerians. The Nigerian people have decided. The Lagos people have decided. This moment started from here, and we will finish it from here. Nobody will stop us because we are determined, and we have made up our mind that we are going to vote for Peter, Gregory, Obi, and Deputy Baba Ahmed as our president that will lead us to Asu Villa. Ẹgbẹ̀rin abẹ́ ẹgbẹ̀rin. Mo rí ẹgbẹ̀rin abẹ́ ẹgbẹ̀rin. Ìyá mi ò gbé eléégún ọjà gbé eléégún. Bàbá mi ò gbé eléégún ọjà gbé. Bọ́dún bá dé máa gbẹ́ bọ́dá ní. Bọ́dún bá dé máa kérò sẹ́yìn o. Ìgbà yíyá dariwo bẹ́ẹ̀ ń gbé eléégún. Our eégún today is Peter Gregory Obi. Jama'a salamu alaikum. Ina ƴan wana Hausawa. Kuna nan. An ce ba za mu yi Peter Obi ba. Gaskiya ne ko ƙarya ne? Ƙarya ce ko gaskiya ce? Nigeria guda ɗaya ce. Peter Obi ya ce arzikin Nigeria a arewacin Nigeria yake. Ya ce zai mai da mu samu aikin noma da zai taimaka jama'an mu. Shin Datti Baba Ahmed bai yi Nigeria ba? Ɗanmu ne ba zazzagi ne, saboda haka mu zaɓi Peter da Datti Baba Ahmed. Kedu maka Indugbegi, kedu maka Ọrụ. Lagos kwenu, Lagos kwenu, Lagos kwenu, Nigeria kwezonu. DG. Okay.
Ginger una dey here. Energy una dey here. Power una dey here. Where is the young people? Dr. Mo is in the building. Matt Mo is here. Young people are here. The energy of Nigeria, are you here? Since 1999, a few group of people collect power. Somebody say power. Somebody say power. They put it in their pocket for themselves and their children. Some live in Dubai, some live in China. Somebody say game over. Say time over. Say enough is enough. Somebody say papa. Say mama. Say begin. We no longer vote for the instrument of witchcraft again. We are not going to vote for anything that will make shit again. From now onward, the family, say everything. Yes. Say, energy, younger, energetic, time, gallant, young, Lagos, make some noise! This is how we roll. Young, energetic, sexual, intelligent, fun and beautiful, with correct brain. You can find online. You can join. Be waiting for one for Nigeria. Listen, Lagos. 2023. In the next few days, somebody say the people. It is the people versus the establishment. We come back to collect what is ours. We are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. Let's make some noise. Tokubo. Mama, stop this. Don't say something.
What's it? Lagos, make some noise! Listen. They don't say Lagos people will not get PVC. I tell them say a lie. If you know your biggest and you have PVC, let me see your hand up! Come on, Lagos! Now listen again. They can't talk say Lagos, say now only 25% when I go bring, but I talk say now 100. Lagos, if you're giving P2B 100%, make some noise! Are you ready? If they like, make sun fall. If they like, make Atlantic Ocean come back. Peter and Dati shall be the president and vice president. If you believe, let me see your hand up. Come on, Lagos. Are we ready now? If you're here, you want to see your president or your vice president, make us see your hand up. Now see your hand up. You want to see your president and your vice president. Two handsome men, where's the big book? And of course, don't see their wife, we're fine too. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to bring a very, very good candidate for this very beautiful state. He's young, he's got capacity, he's very, very respectful. To put your hands together for Badebo. Who does the more clap for Badebo? Incoming, please, can you come and say something to your people? Just a word to your people. We there now. Come on! Lagos! Lagos! You know, people don't know that Lagos State, Lagos State is the birthplace and home of the obedience movement. So our own is coming home. Peter Omowale Obi, back to Lagos. So show him that we are going to deliver for him 100%. And we are going to give him a margin that you will not see in any other state. You know, when they look at us here, they think that we are the David. We are not David. You are the David. You have decided to bring down Goliath. And God has given us a proper stone. And that is not just a stone. It is the people's rock. And we'll use that people's rock to take over Aso Rock. God has also given you another stone. Ba Adebo. We will use that stone and take over Lagos State. God bless you. Don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid. They're shaking. They're shaking. But we are going to deliver. Don't worry. We are together. God bless you. Lagos, make some noise for your incoming governor. Okay. Okay, listen. Make some noise if you love the P Squad. Come on, Lagos State. Make some noise if you love Clint the Draw. Put on the fellow Kuni, our father, please. Daddy, talk to us. Thank you very much. Greatest obedience. Who is the instructor? Who is the instructor? Are you obedient? Who is the instructor? Who is the instructor? Are you obedient? I bring solidarity greetings to you from the National Progressive Movement of this country. Those who are ready to back the revolution of Nigeria. Thank you very much. All right, now we will have. Yeah. Welcome, Peace Square in the building. Peace Square in the building. Peace Square in the building. Yeah. Peace in the building.
because the Electoral Act makes provisions for them to challenge the results as they're being presented to the public. So for those that are saying that they're not trusting the process, is the process even trustworthy to begin with?
Ordinarily, it should be. I mean, it's the only body we have for now to conduct elections. But what has happened is simply this. INEC opened itself up. When its chairman was saying, or even at the state level, when you raise an objection, then they said, okay, wait and go to the court. The judiciary is the last hope for all of us. But even the judiciary has been less than stellar in its performance, especially in relation to electoral matters. There have been so many cases, I don't want to mention any here, but we do know that some abracadabra have happened. I mean, but if they decide, then it's final. They're like gods here. So that's why if you can't get it in the court, in the normal court, you go to the court of public opinion, and perhaps it might influence things. So what has happened is that by the very action or inaction, actions of the parties, with their complaints and all that, these parties no longer have confidence that, and they don't want to wait. If things can be addressed before, while we're still collating figures, and at the point where they should be addressed, if these things can be addressed, they don't want to wait to get to the court.
Victor Kai, we have to interrupt you this very moment as we have to cross over to Abuja, where Festus Okoye is making an address.
Because we have almost 7 state collation officers for the presidential election around. We have around 4 of them that have landed at the airport and are on their way to the National Collation Center. And then we have around 5 that are already airborne. So we have decided as a commission to have a substantial number of the state collation officers for the presidential election so that the moment we begin the collation, we can just go on a stretch and take a substantial number of those who have arrived. We just don't want to take 3 or 4 and then go on break and then come out and begin to take the rest. We just want to begin and go very, very far before we talk of any break. So I plead with you to still give us some time. We are definitely going to come out at 3:30 p.m. To begin the collation. Around 5 of them are ready, and as I was speaking now, I saw the resident electoral commissioner for Kogi State and the scope for Kogi State arrive. So most of them are just arriving. We are expecting Plateau. Anambra has gone to the airport, and so many of them are already on their way. So I crave your indulgence to give us up to 3:30 p.m. Before we resume a collation. Thank you so much.
Heard live from Abuja, we've just heard from Festus Okoye, the National Commission of Information of INEC, who is pleading to the public to kindly exercise patience as they have postponed the commencement of today's collation activities until 3:30, as he mentioned that there are a number of state collation officers who have just landed on the tarmac at the airport in Abuja. So as opposed to getting started with just a few who are present and taking another break and returning, they'd like to take one long stretch, and he has assured us that the National Collation Center will resume at 3:30. More delays, more delays, more delays. We're getting used to this, aren't we?
Well, in this case, he explained why the delay. So I guess it's okay. Instead of taking them one and then you go on another break, and then it can be a bit tiring. It might be good, though, for what we're doing. You know what I mean? So that in between, we go there and come back, and then probably do an analysis of, you know,
Dr. Victor, can I just butt in while you're to just add this to what you're saying? You know, it's good to see communication, and like you said, you know, this makes everybody feel comfortable. It gives us a sense of peace that, okay, now they're letting us in the loop. I remember yesterday, Ambassador Mark Green, who's the head of the U.S. Observers Mission, said, you don't need to have solutions and answers all the time. Sometimes just share what you're going through and put people at ease. Do you think that this is a sign of what you were talking about earlier, that INEC is listening to the pressure that they're being put under and are now starting to respond and act accordingly? Might we see some other reparatory behavior from them?
Okay. Now, let me put it this way. There's a reason the media is referred to as the fourth estate of the realm. You might not get the benefits of election and appointment in government and all that, but for democracy to work, the media has a part to play. You set agenda, and sometimes you also, what's the other role again? I'm trying to remember now, but whatever it is. So with what is happening right now, ordinarily without the media, people would not know what is happening. Why did they call a press conference? Why is it a press conference? Why didn't they just talk to their immediate community and all that? They have done that in order to be able to put pressure. And so we, and I say so as well here, as media, are putting them on their toes so that they can do the right thing. So the role is to make sure that those in government, is a watchdog role, to say, Big Brother is watching you. The world is watching you. That thing that you're doing, you better correct yourself, or else the court of public opinion will rise up against you. And everyone is mindful. Perception is even stronger than reality in most cases. The implications of, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, certainly.
So you have to, okay.
Yeah, the matter of perception, I'm sorry, I want to go back to the press conference again, and from the opposition parties, so PDP, LP, ADC, and so on. Mr. Ayu, the chair.
Of PDP.
Of PDP. Prior, you were saying that we have to be careful not to heat up the polity.
Yes.
He said in that press conference that it may get to a point where, quote, we cannot control our party members or our followers. And, I mean, is that a responsible thing to be saying at this point? Because it almost sounds like a veiled threat towards...
I was going to use the language, it's a subtle threat. It's veiled.
Yeah.
It's veiled. Yeah, it's like bending... Unfortunately, like I said, INEC called for it. Because you see, if there have been times in this country where people have seen the electoral body as being almost like the voice, I won't say of the people, but for the people.
Right.
You know, they have said, they have had confidence in those in charge and said, wow, you know, they're doing the right thing.
Like the Jega era, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So, and then they feel, okay, look, don't hound this. But even at some of the state levels, you find a situation where if there's harassment, they say, no, this guy is doing his job. Because they will see, permit me to mention a name now, a name that inspires confidence. Igini, Mike, for instance.
Okay.
Wherever he goes, he inspires confidence by virtue of his conduct over the years, you know. And so if you've been consistent and people can see in you integrity, it doesn't matter whether the opposition may not like you, but they will respect you.
Right.
You understand? Because you are a voice for the people, not of, you know, you understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
So, and that's what I expect, even at the very top. So that wherever you go, people may not like the fact that they lost, but they will respect you because you did your job. And they will respect you too, although they may try to manipulate you, but they won't get you. You will refuse to compromise. They may not like you only for that fact, because you refuse to compromise, but you will have their respect. That's what I expect. But there seems to be a deficit of that right now because of the way the entire process has been managed. I'm not indicting any individual or even talking about the institution, but the management of the process has eroded confidence the confidence of the general public. And that's why you see things like what Ayu is saying now. You know, so he's dropping those subtle threats, you know, or veiled threats and all that. And it's really, the only thing I must be careful about is not to incite. But it gets to a point where, you know, if things are not addressed and be seen to be addressed, then, you know,
then things start getting
yes,
right.
Exactly.
Start getting out of hand.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Victor. Now, when I saw that, you know, brief update from INEC, it didn't come across to me, and you could, you know, I stand corrected, but it came across as defiant to me, in the sense that there have been calls for the process, the collation process, to.
Are you talking about Okoye's last?
Yes. It's, you know, he said that they were going to resume at 3:30. It shows that they're still going on with the collation process, even though there are calls for this to stop. You know, it's been boycotted and whatnot. So it doesn't necessarily appear as though the issues that have been raised are being addressed. Because one thing the chairman did say when that collation center was launched on, I believe it was on Sunday, he said that matters that need to be addressed will be done in a separate location. So collation is still going on business as usual. And now there are even calls for a whole new election to take place based on what we saw with that joint press conference with the three political parties. Just wondering how you know, fuse those two together.
No. INEC is doing the responsible thing, if you excuse my putting it that way. Of
course.
If they respond to any and every criticism, so stop the election, this, that, then obviously there'll be chaos. Because you will see blackmail coming from all sides. The proper thing to do is what they're doing. Carry on with the process, but also begin to address, or say if you have, whether they have an internal mechanism or they have someone, I mean, if they're going to set up a separate committee to deal with that, I think that should be going on while this process is going on. You cannot stop, because the results have been collated at the states, and they're coming to present them at the national level. And so Okoye, I don't think, was being defiant. What he was simply doing there was his job, which is communication. He's head of communication. That's what it is. Sorry, we were supposed to have started, but we have decided to shift it a bit. And the reason is we're expecting more people to come. We don't want these breaks, too many breaks in between. We won't take a long stretch of reports as they come in. I think it is the proper thing to do, and I don't think there's anything wrong. What will be wrong is if they do not keep their promise of looking into the issues that have been raised, then there could be a problem. Then what Ayu and Co have talked about will then become a major issue. Because if you complain, you deserve to be heard, but also that issue has to be addressed because it represents the views of so many people.
Dr. Victor, thank you so much for that. We're going to come back to you, but let's get a feel for what's happening in the rest of the country currently. And on that note, returning officer for Rivers State presidential elections, Teddy Charles Adia, has adjourned the collation of the presidential result of Rivers State for alleged threat to life. Professor Adia, who is the Vice-Chancellor of Federal University Otuoke, says he has received several calls and text messages from the public threatening to deal with him for alleged compromise. He says until the issues on the threat to his life are addressed, he will not continue. He called on all the security agencies to help protect his life. Meanwhile, the Commissioner of Police in charge of the presidential elections, CP Aderemi Adeoye, has condemned the threat to the life of the returning officer. Now, results from 21 out of 23 local government areas have been announced in the state.
I'm not involved in counting. I'm not involved in computation. Neither am I involved in validations of votes agreeable to any political party. I carefully consider, therefore, I regret to observe that my life is being threatened because I've elected to serve a dear country and contribute my fair quota to the success of the ongoing election, which we all desire, wait for, and pray for successes. By this address, I wish to alert security agencies, indeed the public, on the threat to my life, and to request for every necessary protection to enable me live and discharge my duties and obligations freely. In the meantime, I wish to adjourn the collations of these presidential elections for Rivers State to enable the resident electoral commissioner, the REC, of Rivers State, and indeed INEC, to address the foregoing and put my roles as scope in Rivers State to the perspective in the public.
The Nigeria Police Force condemns those threats and those behind it in its entirety, without reservation. It is condemnable that what hitherto has played out on social media is not translating to real life, and it is affecting the whole of our national interests. It is ridiculous to say the professor kept us waiting for 2-3 hours, when in actual fact, his own life is under threat. None of your lives are being threatened. And if he did not turn up at all, there is no court we charge him to, because self-preservation is the first law of nature. If he doesn't feel safe, he won't turn up. And what is anyone going to do about it? And from the brief he gave, he mentioned a particular political party.
All right, the Director General of the Katsina State PDP Atiku campaign organization, Mustapha Inuwa, is saying what transpired during the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections is different from the initial assurances given by INEC in conducting credible elections. During a press conference in Katsina, Mustapha says, contrary to measures taken by President Muhammadu Buhari towards arresting issues relating to vote buying, billions of naira was used for inducing voters across the state.
You have non-supply of sensitive election material on time, beavers in some cases, result sheets in some cases. Here in Katsina in particular, up to 12 midnight, many of the polling units did not have result sheets. I know how personally I struggled talking to people to ensure these results were. And in many places, they brought less number of ballot papers for particular constituencies. And thugs hijacked materials in many places across the state and so on. You find that the whole exercise, especially in the rural areas, was characterized by a lot of malpractices, intimidation, harassment, which really put a lot of question on the credibility of the election. You see, you come to see some of this result sheet, TPEX was used to change the results. In Daura area, in Kuripi, Musawa, and so many places. We have Mr. President promised no vote buying. As a result, this new currency was introduced. He appealed to Nigerians to endure the suffering because it is for a better Nigeria. We all supported him. But in his own state, Katsina State, in his own locality, I believe even in Daura that thing was done, inducements was openly done. We said it here, the sum of 6.6 billion naira was approved and released for the purchase of rice, fertilizer, wrapper, including SEFA, to be used to induce voters. I believe it's an open secret. You have gone around, you have seen it yourself. This in Katsina becomes so clear, so obvious. Simple arithmetic. If you look at the votes, Katsina's state government was able to get for the presidential candidate, which is 482 votes, as declared. Just forget about the amount of money Tinubu gave and other sources. Just take this 6.6 billion. People's money was taken, and each of these votes cost Katsina taxpayer 22,087,136.92. Each of these votes, 6.6 billion. It was alleged that Tinubu sent 11 billion. That doesn't concern us.
All right, Dr. Okai, what do you make of that? I mean, in all this conversation that we've had, somehow the vote buying, which remember the Naira redesign and all the Naira cash scarcity is supposed to stop over, that seems to have been swept under the table because the elections have taken over. But there's still, as has been alleged in Katsina, 6 billion, attributed to vote buying. So is that still a factor here?
It is a factor. We cannot pretend that money didn't change hands at certain levels. I certainly saw some videos. I remember a particular video where, I'm not going to mention names here, of course. Where in one of the northern states, a candidate, money was given to like a youth leader or so, and then quite substantial, and the person was thanking them, and then he also gave to some of his followers and all that. So even before the Naira redesign, they had allocated money to quite a number of people, that given money to quite a number of people. And so, so that was always there. Yeah. But, what was prevented was at the very location. Yeah. What has simply happened, and I'll tell you this because I know of a few cases of some people who every election cycle build 3 to 4 houses, and I kid you not. Yes. Every election cycle, they position themselves well. They have the right story to sell to candidates. They're the ones who come and tell you I have 1 million youths behind me and all that. And I wonder, if you have 1 million youths behind you, you should be running for president.
Right,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? So, and then they manage, and they position themselves properly.
Wow.
They collect this money on behalf of people, and then, and then there are another category, the ones that specialize in getting crowds for, it's
for
a
rallies.
business.
Yeah,
yes,
for
rallies.
Yeah.
So it's a business. So, but what has simply happened here is that the money did not trickle down. It has been held now, at the very top. It's been held at the very top, So if you find a situation where the results didn't come out like it should, it's probably because it was stuck, at the very top. But yes, the concerns are genuine, but most of the parties are guilty. Yeah. Most of them are. And I read a report recently where they said, the parties were saved some trillions of naira because of the vote, because this is when they would have spent.
Right.
They would have spent. So the parties have been saved that, and many candidates, I dare say, have been saved that as well. But there are those who are hell-bent. It's in their character, it's in their nature. It's not about, for them, and this is why when they get in there, they don't care. They kick the ladder and they just continue with their lives. Every election cycle, first impoverish you so that you are at that stage where even if you're given 10 naira, you are very grateful. Yeah. And you say, okay, God bless you, or whatever the case is, or whatever. So that's what is happening or playing out here. Money, most of them, let me just use that, they allocated money and they have spent, they have tried to, but the only difference now is that the money is stuck somewhere, and unfortunately, there's not going to be any return to where it came from, and nothing will trickle down because it's all done and dusted.
The first thing I'd like to ask, I haven't done my research yet, but when I look, when that press conference happened with the ADC, the Labour Party, and the PDP, have we seen that Was history made today, where we saw coming together to ask for a similar objective?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I think the last election had some sort of coalition against the ruling party, 2019.
Yes.
But not, then it was more like, the CUPP, the smaller parties, more like, were coming together. They did not really, you didn't see PDP taking the lead like this, and then the very strong parties. But so it's not exactly the first time it's happening, because CUPP, that's why I have what's called a conference, conference of registered, I can't remember, but there's that conference of political parties. So it's always there. They are like the voice. They even have a chairman, So they are the voice, they speak, and so that they've always spoken. But what has happened now is a situation where it's almost like going to be like a grand coalition against INEC, actually the ruling party, but the attack is on INEC, so it's like leave the ruling party, put the hit on INEC, and so that's what's happening. And the reason they're doing that is, and to a large extent justifiably, is because they have been allegedly robbed at different places. So they are all feeling the pinch. So they have something in common, and that's why they can come together and then want to put together a strong force. And remember, there was also a groundswell. I mean, in 2015, there was something similar too, when all the parties were united together to kick out PDP.
Yeah.
You understand?
That was historic.
Yes. So they were united by one common cause, kick out PDP at all costs. So history is repeating itself now. So they're coming together with the sole purpose of kicking out the ruling party.
I'm glad you're talking about history repeating itself. Rivers State, every election, unfortunately, is becoming that cousin, the troublesome cousin, who you come to know that when you invite this cousin to a party, chances are you have to make provisions for them because chances are they may not play according to the rules. What will it take for us to see a calm election in Rivers State? Time and time again, this is what we witness. What are the dynamics that need to shift for us to see peace prevail during elections in Rivers State? It's like a PhD question, isn't it?
You know what happens? Only ripe mangoes get stones thrown at it.
Okay, all right.
Rivers is a beautiful bride. The oil, it may not be the largest oil producer now, but all the oil companies are there. That's like the oil capital of Nigeria. There's so much money and so much. They have the population as well, voting population. You talk about the tripod, if you ask me, for election is usually Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt. If you can win these three, then you're well on your way to electoral victory, especially at the national level. And so the heart and soul of every presidential election is in these three places, but especially Rivers. And the reason for Rivers is because, to a large extent, the other two are almost set. You can be sure, until the recent upset, you can almost be sure where Lagos will go to. You can almost, depending on which candidate is in the ballot, is on the ballot sheet, you can almost predict where Kano will go to.
Exactly.
Rivers becomes a beautiful bride. Now, Rivers determines, it's like they are the ones that, they determine which direction. They are like the, what do you call it now? In fact, the rudder, they determine which direction, actually, the votes will swing, finally. And so it is not unexpected. That's why they will do anything to get it. That's why it was important for Atiku, but maybe he managed it well, maybe he didn't manage it well. In the end, it was like, well, whatever happens, happens. And that's why, for Tinubu, it was very, very important that, the they get Rivers on their side. And I knew, when I knew that Wike will go that way, was when Wike went to donate 300 million of Rivers State people's hard-earned money to women, not even the government, women, wives of political appointees in Lagos. You know, when I saw that, I said, oh, this is what everyone is talking about. That's where it's going. And so, to a large extent, Rivers is very, very critical because you can fill in numbers from there. Wherever you have a large voting population, you can manipulate, you know. So if you even see a threat to life, you know, then it therefore means that that is the soul. That perhaps is going to be the soul of this election. The reason being that we can see all the others are already, as they say, cast, to use street lingo now. The other states are cast already. We already know where they are. But Rivers is the third leg in the tripod, and it will determine to a very large extent. Because they can, who was it that was saying off camera?
While you think about who it was that was saying that, we'll just take this quick story, Dr. Victor. Okay, thank you so much. Now, Bayelsa State Collation Officer Professor Lillian Salami has announced the candidate of the People's Democratic Party as winner of the presidential election in the state. Atiku Abubakar polled 68,818 votes to defeat the presidential candidates of the Labour Party and the All Progressives Congress. Niger Delta correspondent Ovietime George has this report.
NNPP won 5.
One after the other, the local government collation officers announced results of the presidential election in Bayelsa State before the state collation officer, Professor Lillian Salami, gave the final figure.
Summary results for APC 42572, LP 49975, PDP 68818.
Dennis Otiotio of the All Progressives Congress and his People's Democratic Party counterpart, Talford Ongolo, are among representatives of the various political parties at the Collation Center.
In some local government, some results were collated, that is, elections were conducted in some places, the beavers were not used for accreditation, and then in some areas also, there are some places where, in APC strongholds, where election did not hold, because materials did not get to those areas.
Here in Bayelsa State, the people have clearly spoken that their preferred candidate to rule this country at this point in time is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. That's why we have emerged victorious. But we believe that there is need to improve the system. In terms of logistics,
Enei Zidoa of the Labour Party refused to sign the INEC results sheet.
Before we got here, I have my raw results from various units and wards. And the results I have differ from what is being presented here. So my mandate, Labour Party mandate, is stolen. And that is the reason why I refuse to sign with other parties signing.
The feelers that we are getting is not encouraging to say that results can be uploaded. Areas where people should have stopped voting, people are still voting, and all kinds of issues that are arising. For me, I think that for those areas that there was violence, those areas should be cancelled and redone, where security agencies will protect the people in order for them to go and exercise their franchise.
There may be dissenting voices among the political parties. However, the consensus is that elections were peaceful in Bayelsa State. Ovietime George, Arise News.
Well, international election observers in Nigeria say lack of efficient planning, training of electoral officers, and technical hitches have decimated the trust of the Nigerian people in the entire process. Arise correspondent Georgina Ndukweze Anyika has more details.
And submission of results of Saturday's election from different states in Nigeria are being announced. International observers in Nigeria are also presenting preliminary findings on the conduct of the elections. For the European Union Election Observation Mission to Nigeria, the delay in uploading results to the INEC results viewing portal raises concern.
Abuse of incumbency by various political office holders distorted the playing field, and there were allegations widespread of vote buying.
The atmosphere on election day was relatively peaceful, but at the same time tense, largely due to organizational challenges, which among others caused significant delay in many of the polling units which we visited.
Another area of concern is the political inclusion of women, youths, and people living with disabilities. They say women account for only 10% of the candidates, and that goes against international treaties signed by Nigeria.
Party primaries were affected by a lack of transparency and inclusiveness, with notable very low participation of women and youth. The lack of legal measures for inclusion and barriers is of concern.
On the basis of our observation, promises of facilitating the voting of people with disabilities were not fulfilled.
Serious concerns were also raised by the observation mission of the International Republican Institute and the National Democratic Institute. Leader of the delegation and former president of Malawi says a lot still needs to be done as regards women's participation in Nigeria's political space.
It is disappointing that women's political participation continues to decrease when Nigerian women are shining in all other social and economic sectors, both at home and globally. This concerns me.
The delegation also called for an audit of the voters' register to remove underage voters.
We urge INEC to take comprehensive measures to reduce the burden on voters to register and collect their PVC, including extension of timelines, increasing the number of distribution centers, employing mobile units for that distribution.
In order to increase transparency and to build confidence in the results, the delegation recommends INEC to ensure result images are updated to its result viewing portal immediately as they are received.
Besides the challenges faced during the electoral process, pockets of violence and voter suppression shows that political leaders have failed to abide by the peace accord signed before the elections.
There was intimidation going on and that it was intended to suppress voter turnout, and that's a very serious issue, and it falls well short of the standards that Nigeria sets itself. But there should be very clear pathways to prosecution for those who carried this out.
Political actors should fully adhere to their peace accord commitments, including seeking redress of electoral complaints that may arise through proper legal channels and abide by the outcomes of judicial proceedings.
The international observers say they will continue to watch the process, including the announcement of results and the swearing in of newly elected officials. Georgina Ndukwezainka, Arise News.
Okay, we now join the live coverage of the APC Presidential Campaign Council press conference holding in Abuja on the conduct of the February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections in Nigeria. Let's take a look.
Honorably. This election has already been won by our candidate according to the results declared at the collation centers in the state. In 2015, President Jonathan did not wait for INEC to finish collation before he called President Buhari and congratulated him in the true spirit of democracy and sportsmanship. We urge Atiku Abubakar and Obi to follow the same path of honor instead of attempting to hit up the polity via the reckless statements by surrogates. Let Atiku and Obi do the needful, do the decent thing, and save Nigeria any agony by calling Tinubu now and conceding defeat. Thank you, gentlemen. Now I want to play you the tape. If your cameras can zoom in on this, in my hand, so you see the visual clearly and the video of it. I'm increasing the volume. Here goes.
Back in 2007, it is said that you actually said that that election would be a do or die election. No. I said for my party, for your party, for my party.
But they can see.
The PDP will to win the election, not by but of course, you know that you have complaints about that election. Far from being fair. No, that election was fair. Yes, oh yes. Look, there is no election we have had in Nigeria that has not been disputed. The election was disputed, all right, but the election reflected the will of the people of Nigeria. And my party had 28 governors. If you have to do it again, you think that 28 out of 36 governors, where you have one of the contestants had probably 5 governors, one hadn't got any governor at all. Campaign, work for their own party, and you think that my party will lose? You know, it has been actually said that it is true that Nigeria, at least on paper, is a multi-party system. Yes. But in reality, it is a one-party state. PDP controls almost everything. So what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? If the people of Nigeria decide to vote for PDP, should PDP go to them and say, please, in a free and fair election? Yes. That is also verified by the international observers. Yes. But not the last election in 2006. Don't vote. In the last 18 months, I have observed the election in South Africa and in Togo. Yes. And if you have gone by what the so-called international, both elections will have been declared not acceptable. And this morning I have only commented on the election in Sudan. Well, now, 1 minute to go. Now, 1 minute to go. Now, Shaka. Yes. What is important is that any election should reflect the will of the people. In this country, in America, it didn't have a public. In 2000, in Florida, it didn't happen. The British told me that, in fact, in their own election, they got dead people voting.
It's okay. Gentlemen, you've heard and seen it all. If you like, I can. That is General Obasanjo telling us no election is perfect anywhere in the world, and that the US, the British, and others, they told him that they even had dead bodies' names on their ballots, and yet those elections were not cancelled. And this is the same man now moralizing and pontificating, huffing and puffing that elections should be cancelled. You can see sheer selfishness there because his candidate is losing. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, quickly, we also want to just quickly comment on the joint press conference held about an hour ago or 2 hours ago by the PDP, the Labour Party, and I think the ADC, if I'm right. We prepared this statement before that press conference, so we just, the demand, especially the demand they made at that press conference. So I want to take just 2 minutes or 3 minutes to respond to those demands. The national chairman of all the parties, the 3 parties were there, and they have made 3 demands, 2 or 3 demands. And they have called for a total cancellation of the electoral process, of the whole election. 2, called for Mahmoud, the chairman of INEC, to step aside and that they have no faith in him again to conduct any election, and any other person within the commission should take over. And they called for an intervention of President Muhammadu Buhari in the process. They're actually calling for the president to intervene to interfere with the process, and do their bidding. Because of time, respond to those demands. First of all, those demands are not possible under the law. The national chairman of INEC, seated at the National Collation Center, is the national returning officer for that purpose. And if you look at the provisions of the Electoral Act, at every point of the collation process, the officer who makes that return at the unit level, the ward level, it is final for that purpose. I repeat, any officer at every level of the collation process, look at section 45 of the Electoral Act down to about 70 or so, which itemizes how those results are collated. So once a unit officer makes a return, for instance, under the old Electoral Act, when there's a complaint at a unit level, the unit officer, can take all his complaint to the ward level and then make his complaint. And then at a higher level, they will review what has happened and make a decision at the higher level, at the ward level or the local government level. But under the new Electoral Act, and I think my elder brother at the bar, Chief Olanikbeku, made that, point 1 month before the election that it is a dangerous provision of the law. That now the returning officer is final for that purpose. So just quickly, the unit officers who made the return and appended their signature on forms E8 is to the ward officers, that's final, local government officers final, state returning officers final, the recs. And then when it comes to the National Collation Center, the national chairman has national returning officer, which national chairman, has no powers under the law to review what all those returning officers have done. All your complaints should have been resolved at that level. If the national chairman at the National Collation Center now attempts to say, now I want to review what happened in this ward or local government, he's constituting himself into a tribunal. Once a return has been made, it is only an election tribunal that can interfere with that return. And lastly, for the second one, is that the process, as it is now, must be completed in law before you can even look at any complaints. You cannot complain about a process, about election results that have not been released, have not been announced. So they want the national chairman to inquire into results that he has not received and declared. And that is not the provisions, that is completely at variance with the Electoral Act. So it's just to tell Nigerians, because of time, we are live on air, to tell Nigerians that these requests are not possible under the law. In fact, they are asking for illegal requests for their own purpose. And they are going to continue to search for an INEC chairman until they see one who can return them as president of Nigeria. That is what they're asking for, really.
Gentlemen, we have 1 minute for Femi, and then another minute for Kazim there, and then we'll go into questions. Yes, yeah.
Gentlemen, let me do this. We have to recognize what is going on for what it is, so we shouldn't mince words. There are clear remedies for people that believe the election has not been conducted in the right way, and the remedy is to go to court after the announcement. What these people are trying to do is to abort the democratic process. What they're doing is close to being treasonous. And what they're doing is totally unacceptable by any standard at all. As far as I'm concerned, this was contrived. They knew they were going to lose. We spoke a few weeks back about the whole idea and conspiracy to come up with some kind of ING, which is really what they want, knowing they cannot defeat our party and our candidate. And we're seeing this, unfolding before our very eyes. So Nigerians need to understand it for what it is. When they gather together, like three blind mice, like they did today earlier, talking about aborting the process, aborting a democratic process, removing an INEC chairman because you're not winning, and then President Obasanjo, and it hurts me to have to say this, will come and add his voice to the whole idea of aborting a democratic process. These are not Democrats, these are tyrants.
These are people that cannot accept the whole idea of losing an election. They're not man enough. They're not strong enough. If there's a problem, go to court afterwards. That's how civilized people behave. You don't gather yourself together and say, because my candidate is losing, because my party is losing, because we are losing everywhere, or we've lost, and we've seen our aspirations melting like an iceberg approaching the tropics, that will scatter everything and set Nigeria back. This election will be defended once the announcement has been made that our candidate has won. This is something that we said yesterday, we're saying it again now. They should not try to abort the process, otherwise there will be consequences in this country, because we will not allow another June 12th. By God's grace, this democracy will stand. And shame on them for what they're trying to do.
So, thank you.
Let me stand. Mine is just going to be a call.
No, let him talk from this.
Go on.
Mine is just a call on the security agencies. Atiku Abubakar's uncultured Rottweilers,
yes,
who are trying to Dino Melaye and others should understand that it is not all the time that you display your Agberoism, motopark mentality. This is Nigeria. Yes, preparations were made. Billions of naira were spent.
Absolutely.
If candidates of APC, PDP, and others are losing in their strongholds, Lagos, Katsina, Kebbi, and other places, how much do you want to see of a credible election where even governors, sitting governors, are losing elections to go to Senate? If PDP were to be leading and to be winning, will they stage a walkout?
Exactly.
If they were to be leading and winning, will they pull out of this whole process? Would they be doing press conference? If Labour were to be winning, would they also pull out? I also want to advise Peter Obi not to hide under the cover of PDP. Yes. They will send him.
Yes.
He still have a better future. Yeah. They will send him because if they were reasonable and strategic, like Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, they would have paired up together. Obi would have been the candidate, that people have been the running mates. The whole process would have been different. But they wanted to go their separate ways. Like wanting to see a positive outcome. Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu was and is the candidate of Nigeria and Nigerians in this election.
Yes, sir.
He's not an ethnic candidate. He lost in Osun. He lost in Lagos.
Yes.
This election on. And it's be reminded that nobody has monopoly of danceability.
That's right.
Rascality. That's and other. You know that when there's crisis in the marketplace, as elders, they will naturally look at what the problem is and rein in everybody. But behaving irresponsibly at his age and stature in Africa and West Africa, I am surprised and shocked that he will come out to utter those kind of very unfortunate words. So my appeal is to all APC followers who gave the mandates that will soon be announced to Ahmed Asiwaju Bola Tinubu to remain calm and peaceful. When there's madness in the marketplace, there are those who will still recollect their senses and rein in everybody so that there will be peace and tranquility. This democracy must stand.
Yes.
It must not be truncated. Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu was in the front line of those who labored in the trenches to best this democracy. He ran the world inside, fought over there, Radio Kudurat, Radio this, Nadeko that, to gain when all these characters were in bed with the military oligarchy. And so, if it is now his turn to preside over this country as a democratically elected president through popular votes, and some of these characters, desperados, want to truncate the process, we will meet them eyeball to eyeball.
Eyeball to eyeball. Eyeball to eyeball. That's okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Kazim. Men of the press, you've heard my colleagues, and you have heard, you have heard the submissions. Now, the kernel, the cancellation of this process, or the results or otherwise, is calling for the abortion of democracy in Nigeria. And Nigerians are not ready to abort this process. To those who are whipping up the youths, the ill-informed section of the youths, those who are whipping them up should remember that the youths who never went through the crucibles of democratic struggle, who have not seen wars, who do not know the tragedy of war, of insurrection, of destabilization on a national scale, should be well aware that Nigerians are not ready to go through that ruinous path again. Them who have ears, let them hear. Nigerians want the stability and political progress of this country through democracy, not through the jackboots of militarism. Never again. Those who are calling for the abortion, you can all see they are not true Democrats. Only true Democrats deserve the joy of victory. If you do not or cannot absorb the shock of defeat, you do not deserve the joy of victory.
Absolutely.
And our candidate has honorably accepted defeat in his own base of Lagos. Let others, PDP, the LP, and any other, let them also imbibe the same spirit of true Democrats and sportsmanship. Thank you, gentlemen. Questions?
Before questions,
Good afternoon. Yes. Good afternoon. Just very, very quickly, I want to adopt everything.
Please.
Good afternoon. I just want to adopt everything that my colleagues have said and piggyback on some of them. Listen, I want to appeal to the more to those that have common sense out there. I do understand that, you know, elections are a very emotional sort of process where you get very, very involved. So it's understandable that some people this part of the divide may.
And we got through that very ugly incident. So I want to say that in the same fold, you should try and compare.
Play out. Rally together because we must live in this country as one, as a united country, and this is what we are committed to doing, is what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to doing, and I thank you all for appealing to your conscience in this affair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have questions. Let's have questions. Questions, please. Yes.
Yes, sir. My name is Lucky Sawood. I work for Channels Television. You appear so confident of winning
We have won.
We've won. 1.5 million ahead. Right?
Yes, sir. While waiting for the official announcement, should there be a rerun? How prepared?
There won't be a rerun
before we
now,
announce.
let me explain. Please let me explain to him. Wait, please let me explain to him. He has raised an issue, and there could be others like him who will wish to be enlightened. Now, why there can't be a rerun, there is a constitutional stipulation, guiding, please, there are regulations guiding this process. Now, for you to become elected or declare the winner, you must have a majority vote overall, nationally. Plurality. Yes, and you must you must have the threshold of 25%, scoring 25% in at least 24 states, right? So, where there is a clear winner or a candidate that has crossed that threshold in minimum of 24 states and have the overall majority votes, there is no issue of rerun at all. Yeah. And that's the situation we have on our hands.
I've also seen some ignorant comments online.
And if he did not turn up at all, there is no court you will charge him to, because self-preservation is the first law of nature. If he doesn't feel safe, he won't turn up. And what is anyone going to do about it? And from the brief he gave, he mentioned a particular political party, posting his picture and urging his members worldwide to assail his lines and rob him of his peace of mind. This is uncivilized. Things are not done that way. And whoever is behind it will have his or her day in court. I want to request the professor to kindly submit a written complaint to this effect to the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State. Investigation will be launched, and those behind it will be brought to book. I give you my word on that, sir. And while your assignments continue, the Nigeria Police Force guarantees your safety. We will provide adequate security for your movement. We will provide adequate security for your residence. And whoever is stupid enough to attempt anything will pay with their lives. I give you my word. If you wish, try us. That is my word to those behind this blackmail and threats. They have displayed irresponsible ignorance in blaming the professor for non-functioning of beavers. Do they really know how the system works? And I want to request the professor not to be discouraged and not to be deterred in his commitment to national service. Nationalists before you have faced similar travails, and now you are counted among the legends for putting your life on the line in the service of your country. We salute your courage. We want to request, sir, that in the interest of the nation, you complete this process, because if you don't, the national collation will be held up. And it can spin the entire presidential election itself into jeopardy. It is on this note, sir, that I plead that you kindly complete this process while we guarantee your safety, even after the whole election is over. I urge you kindly reconsider, sir.
Any further comments?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Omangma Harry, Chairman and Collation Officer for Young Progressive Party, and also the Secretary of Rivers State Interparty Advisory Council. As political party leaders, sir, we condemn in totality a threat to your life. We've been in this hall with you for the past 3 days, and we can attest, one, to your simplicity and the way you handle matter. You have been so neutral in all of this. But fine, we want to, whilst we condemn the appeal to you, what's the need? Being here all these days, the night and all that, and we cannot conclude this process. So you too, you will not be satisfied. You will not be satisfied. You will not be pleased. Yeah, we know you are, but we know that the Nigerian police force will be up to their duty to ensure that you are safe, because they are saddled with the protection of lives and property. Sir, reconsider, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any further comments, please?
Well, my name is Barrister Kingsley Chukwu, State Collection Agent for PDP. You'll recall that yesterday I did commend the Commission, and indeed also commended you, sir. I had to recall my experience from the distribution stage. I witnessed the distribution and also witnessed the entire proceedings here since we started collation. And so I commended you and the entire Commission. Now, we want to plead with you to continue with collation. We've taken 21 AGs, just remaining 2. We also condemn whatever threat that has been made to your life. We condemn it in totality. And I'm happy the CP has given every assurance. He spoke yesterday to a very big extent. And today he has also repeated to assure you of his readiness to provide the necessary police protection that you need. So I want to plead with you, sir, that since we have taken 21 AGs, let's complete it with the remaining ones so that we all go. You are doing this for the sake, for the entire country. That is my humble appeal and submission, sir. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Nenye Kocha. I represent AAC. Sir, I want to make an appeal to you. I want to make an appeal because indeed what you raised is a very
I'm still waiting for. You said you were going to get back to me.
And secure her and brought her to the hall.
And you said we have. So we can't use your card then.
That's very obvious. So I want to say that in the same goal, you should try and complete it.
What? On cheaper cash, 780. Why is dollars?
We are sure that those
on cheaper, 775. And then which other one do you have?
So please, sir.
Access, you can't even pay with dollar Nigerian card now. I had to. Okay, it's a dollar card. And let's do that one now. But we have to go and get dollar for you, right? And if we give you naira, we're going to sort it out. And you maybe you go and sort it out from your end now. I'm sure Aboki is selling dollar now like 750. So who are the issues to the call? Let's discuss it. Should I ask the issue to the call? Because it's one pressuring me to. You're paying about $60 now. About $60, yes. For what? For 2,500. And that's like $60. Every $60, how much is that? For 6,800. Let me talk to him. I'll get back to you.
We are going to also release a press statement. We are going to talk to our headquarters. We'll get back to you. Thank you.
My advice, ladies and gentlemen, is that let us remain calm and let us not disperse. Let us remain seated. We will update you from time to time. And members of the press, you are a partner in national progress. And you are the representatives of the public in this room. And I am also aware that many of your channels are on live. It is condemnable that what hitherto has played out on social media is now translating to real life, and it is affecting the whole of our national interests. It is ridiculous to say the professor kept us waiting for 2-3 hours, when in actual fact, his own life is under threat. None of your lives are being threatened. And if he did not turn up at all, there is no court you will charge him to. Because self-preservation is the first law of nature. If he doesn't feel safe, he won't turn up. And what is anyone going to do about it? And from the brief he gave, he mentioned a particular political party.